The Galactic Council had made many mistakes in its 3,000-year history, but none quite as spectacular as what happened on Station Kepler 442. It started with lunch. Holtbrenner wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the Vrothery delegation's quarters. The human chef had been assigned to the lower decks, serving nutrient paste to miners and dock workers. But when the station's primary culinary unit malfunctioned, and the Vrothery ambassador demanded proper food for her cubs, Brenner was the only cook available. The Vrothery were apex predators from a death world that made Earth look like a vacation resort. Four-armed, scaled, with teeth that could shear through titanium plating. They'd conquered 47 star systems before the Council convinced them that diplomacy was more efficient than warfare. Barely. Brenner had done his research. He'd studied Vrothery cuisine, learned about their metabolic requirements, understood their cultural significance around communal feeding. He'd prepared a feast that would have made any Earth Michelin restaurant weep with envy. What he hadn't known was that Vrothery cubs, specifically the ambassador's 3 younglings, had a severe allergic reaction to a compound found in Terran black pepper. The cubs survived. Barely. Their scales turned a sickly purple, and they spent 6 hours in the medical bay having their systems flushed. The ambassador, a female named Kestra the Unbroken, had been displeased. "You poisoned my children," she'd said, her voice like grinding stone. Brenner had apologized profusely. The Council had launched an investigation. Diplomatic channels opened. Reparations were discussed. Then the Vrothery did something unexpected. They burned Brenner's restaurant. Not just closed it down or filed a complaint. They sent a military strike team to Earth, landed in downtown Chicago, and systematically incinerated Brenner's family establishment, a restaurant that had been in operation for 6 generations. They'd done it during closing hours, ensured no one was hurt. But the message was clear. The Council was horrified. Earth's government demanded action. The Vrothery simply stated, "The debt is paid. Honor is satisfied." Except humans don't think about honor the same way. 3 weeks later, a single small craft appeared at the edge of Vrothery space. It transmitted one message: special delivery for Ambassador Kestra. The pilot was Ravi, the smallest of the ambassador's 3 cubs. The 9-year-old Vrothery child had been on Earth as part of a cultural exchange program when the restaurant burned. When the craft was intercepted, Ravi emerged wearing a tiny pressure suit and carrying a thermal container. "I have a message from Chef Brenner," the cub announced over the comm. "He said to tell Mother that he's sorry about the seasoning, but he's not sorry about defending his family's honor." The container held Brenner. Not his body, the human was very much alive. If somewhat cramped, he'd voluntarily stuffed himself into a shipping container to be delivered to the Vrothery homeworld. When Ambassador Kestra saw him climb out, stretching his back and cracking his neck, she'd actually laughed for the first time in anyone's memory. "You are either the bravest or stupidest creature I have ever met," she'd said. "Ma'am," Brenner had replied, "I poisoned your kids by accident. You burned down my life's work on purpose. By my count, you owe me a restaurant." The translator had trouble with his tone, somewhere between defiant and respectful, angry and amused. But Kestra understood perfectly. "And you came here to demand payment? Alone? In a ship piloted by my cub?" "Not alone, ma'am. I brought friends." That's when the Armada dropped out of FTL. 200 ships, every single one a civilian vessel. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining barges, even a few pleasure yachts. Not a military craft among them, but enough mass and velocity to make any defense fleet nervous. They arranged themselves in a perfect grid around Vrothery Prime, close enough to be threatening, far enough to avoid provoking immediate violence. Brenner had put out a call on every human network. "They burned my family's restaurant. I'm going to get an apology. Who's with me?" Apparently, 200 ship captains had been with him. The Council emergency channels lit up like festival lights. The Vrothery fleet scrambled. Earth's government claimed no knowledge of the operation. And little Ravi, who'd spent weeks with Brenner learning to make proper Chicago-style pizza, stood between the human chef and the Vrothery ambassador. "Mother," the cub said in perfect Vrothery formal speech, "Chef Brenner taught me that humans have a saying. Don't start none, Won't be none. I think we started some. Kestra stared at her child, then at Brenner, then at the armada of civilian ships hovering over her homeworld. A smile slowly spread across her predatory features. You magnificent idiot, she said to Brenner. You brought an armada of unarmed ships to demand an apology from a warrior species. Ma'am, these ships aren't unarmed. Each one is carrying approximately 3,000 tons of refined metals, volatile chemicals, and enough kinetic energy to ruin your whole day. Plus, there's 200 captains up there who are just angry enough and just stupid enough to fly them straight down if I don't walk out of here with what I came for. The standoff lasted 6 hours. The council tried negotiating. The Vrathari military ran attack simulations, and Brenner sat in the ambassador's personal quarters, teaching Ravi how to make chocolate chip cookies while the fate of interstellar relations hung in the balance. Finally, Kestra made her decision. The Vrathari respect strength, she announced publicly. We respect honor. And apparently, we have much to learn about human spite. She turned to Brenner. Your restaurant will be rebuilt. My own engineers will do the work. It will be better than before. Brenner had smiled. I'd be honored to cook for your cubs again. Properly seasoned this time. You would trust us after we burned your establishment? Ma'am, you'd trust me after I nearly killed your kids. Seems like we're even. The armada dispersed. Ravi went home with new recipes and a human chef's hat that was comically oversized. And Brenner became the first human to receive a Vrathari honor name. Brenner the slightly less stupid. 6 months later, Brenner's restaurant reopened in Chicago. The grand opening was attended by Ambassador Kestra and all 3 of her cubs. The special of the day was pepperless Vrathari-style braised protein over earth rice. It was the first time in recorded history that a Vrathari had publicly eaten human-prepared food. The council officially recorded the incident as resolved through diplomatic channels. Humans called it the time we sent back the chef with an invoice. And every species in the galaxy learned an important lesson. If you mess with a human's family business, they won't send lawyers. They'll send caterers with a fleet.